Over the past 3 decades, I've worked with hundreds of executive teams. Winning teams know how to move the box faster than their competition. What do I mean by that? Well, do you ever leave an executive meeting with a plan only to find chaos and misalignment a week later? Um, you're not alone. I often fix this challenge with early stage startups. I'd like to share with you two key reflections. Um, Reflection one, leaders don't know often how we are moving the box. They don't think through this. And reflection number two, we don't measure how committed everyone is. So this week we're going to dive into the first reflection. And before we jump in, hi, I'm Sean Aurora and I serve leadership teams through pivotal moments. As a seasoned operator at a hyper-growth company, as a coach, as an investor, founder, former VC, fractional COO, and builder, I've solved just about every business problem that occurs from pre-seed to growth. I'm addicted to scaling great leaders with brilliant ideas. So now, let's jump in. Okay, so here's a box. I often ask leaders, what's your company's number one priority this quarter? And it's rare that I get the same answer from everyone. As a leader, we think the box should be going this way. And that's great. We might get our team to say, yes, we should move the box this way. But what happens oftentimes is there's someone over here that's kind of poking the box this way. Maybe there's a few people who are trying to understand and support you, but maybe they misunderstood something, and all of a sudden the box starts to go that way. If you're trying to get over there, you're kind of going off course here, and you have to kind of bump people along. There's that one person over there that might have to get fired. You may have a great idea and a plan, but you'll start to stall when leaders don't commit to the same priorities. Alignment at the executive level rarely happens by accident. It's built deliberately. When you start to build alignment, most people come around, but not everybody. It's easy to assume alignment means agreement, but alignment is about commitment, not consensus. As more people come around, you may notice that your trajectory is a bit off. As a leader, what happens when, right before we start moving the box, we figure out what's going on with this person and we bring them along? That might be a hard journey. Maybe instead of being so aggressively over here, maybe they just sit on the side. These other players, maybe they say, hey, yeah, we should move the box over here, but maybe we should adjust it. And you have a conversation. You'd be like, you know what? You're right. Let's move the box over here. Brilliant strategy is worthless if your executive team can't speak with one voice. Sometimes we need to get people to commit to us, and sometimes we need to question our assumptions. Are we on the right course? As a CEO, you won't have all the answers. You won't even have the right strategy all the time. You hired a great team, and with more knowledge in their areas of focus, you should trust them. So be cautious, be curious, and be flexible instead of dictatorial. This is not a new idea. I've often used this box analogy. I've used it for decades, but I've heard other leaders use similar type of things. Patrick Lencioni, he's some business guru that everyone talks about. I've never been able to pronounce his name. I've never heard it live. I've only read it, but he says lots of smart things. And one thing he said is, if you get all the people in an organization rowing the same direction, you could dominate an industry. And I love that quote. The Elon Musk of 2017 said, every person in your company is a vector, and your progress is determined by the sum of all the vectors. If you're a math nerd, that might make sense. That might hit harder than the rowing analogy of Patrick. Many leaders talk about this concept. For me, the box analogy seems to be the one that people get the quickest aha moments. So now that you have the analogy, the idea, the concept, how do you create that alignment? Well, don't ask, are you aligned? Because of course people are going to say, yeah, sure, I'm on board. But what does that really mean? You have to get clear on what done looks like. What does good look like? So who, what, where, when, why, these are all important questions to ask. There'll be moments where we didn't anticipate, something came up, and knowing the why of what we're doing empowers smart, talented leaders to change course, to make decisions in a framework that still hits the objective why. Um, my number two advice is get outside the jar. In coaching, we often talk about how when you're inside the jar, you can't read the label on the outside. And so if you have a miscommunication, it's really hard to know that. And checking in with people is really, really helpful. Start with the one thing. Every executive should be able to answer what matters most for this company in this quarter. And if you get 5 different answers, you're having people read the label. You're inside. Especially as a founder CEO, it's really, really easy to just be so myopic. I know exactly what needs to be accomplished, and no one else seems to get it. No one else seems to get it because you're inside the jar. They're getting something. And what is it that they're getting? Be curious about that. It could be a beautiful thing that people have these different interpretations because maybe you're missing something. Maybe you have a blind spot, or maybe not. And maybe other people are going to go off course that you think you're laser focused over here. But what you're communicating is more like that. Very important. Number 3, you have to build a culture where people speak up. Executive teams that avoid conflict often create chaos outside the room. So we have to pick our battles. Sure, but we also need to not rush into a decision. We tend to do that. We tend to have these big to-do lists and we want to check everything off. But when time permits, what I like to do is slow down, say, okay, we got to a really quick decision. It seems like we have consensus, but we don't actually have to make this decision for another week or two. So how about in 3 days, you have time to reflect on this. Let's come back in the room. And if we all agree on this, great, 5 seconds wasted. We'll all just check we still agree. But if something comes up to you, maybe you have a dream, maybe you're in the shower and this beautiful thought comes up, we could explore that. So let's delay a few decisions if we don't have to make it right away. Another thing that I love to use is a tool called the gradients of agreement. And there'll be another video describing how I use that in different companies, but it is phenomenal. Sometimes a yes doesn't mean yes, and no doesn't mean no. There's a whole grade of yeses and nos. A lot of leaders believe that debate slows down decision making. In a world where it's so important to feel heard and so easy to withdraw, discussion is the only path forward. Discussion is not the same as debate. And so if you really want to stop wasting effort, duplicated work, and all those side conversations, we need to fix alignment. We need to all get the box moving in the same direction as fast as possible.